Both players opted to go with the Super NT today. We have CRT options, but they said, no, I want to go with the inferior way to play Super Nintendo games, which I thought was an interesting strat.
I'll have you know that I did not say those words.
Tofu, how you feeling?
I was promised that these monitors were low latency.
We were deceived.
Do you guys want to switch
I would be
to
very
CRT?
into that.
Incentive to switch to CRT.
No, I mean, seriously, now's the time. We do
Now's
it now
the
or
time.
never.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, no. That was a preview of the
Awesome.
race about to come right to you right now.
For $75, yes. Patty will read a page from Hisses and Honey by Shannon Mayer. If we could really emphasize the
All right, I think we're both just bad.
the cover of this
you guys
book,
do any practice for this?
it
No.
looks
Well, then there you go.
very classy.
Freddie Freeze donates $75. I want Patty to read. Thank you. You won't regret it.
This is from page 15. Of course, the wrist was far less intimate than the neck. But if he wanted my blood, he was going to have to do it my way, which meant being reminded of exactly what it was he was about to give up. With a sharp motion, I made a tiny cut at the base of my neck on the left-hand side. "Bite me," I said. With a growl, he slammed his mouth against the wound, all traces of the man I knew disappearing under what he really was, a vampire, a mob boss, out for himself and no one else. A spike of pleasure shot from his mouth down through my chest and pooled in between my legs. I whimpered even as I clung to him, feeling his muscles bunch and flex under my hands. His mouth slipped from my wound and up my neck, trailing kisses, trailing love bites that made my knees weak. Our lips met, and there was an explosion of hunger in our kiss, our hands seemingly unable to draw one another close enough. This was goodbye, I knew it, and I fought to make it last longer, to make him see what was good for him. I was good enough. Maybe I wasn't.
Could someone please donate another 75 so I could hear what happens next?
Let me just tell you, for another $75, this book takes a turn that you're just not going to expect at all. This is an excerpt from page 73. Being that Artemis was a goddess of courage and strength, I wanted to believe her that I was strong enough. Of course, the last bit about Merlin being wrong was no real surprise. That I could easily believe. So maybe the rest was true too. Yaya came up beside me. It's because she comes from good stock, Yaya said. And I'm a super duper, I pointed out. Part of the mystery around my life that we still haven't figured out just what kind of super duper my father was. No one had. Having one parent with supernatural lineage was the only way I'd have been susceptible to the Agris virus, or curse, or whatever you wanted to call it in the first place. And of course, good old Dad wasn't saying a word, acting like he was a plain old human. Ha! Dahlia gave me a slow, wicked grin. Think Hercules could fend off a vampire bite? I feel like that alone is worth $75, right?
Yeah, only if Batman can beat the moon people, I guess.
This book has a 4.5 rating on Amazon. I don't even trust people who read books now. Is that like the thing? Like,
I think that in order to understand if Hercules can fight off a vampire bite, we have to first read the synopsis on the back of the book to give context. The climactic final volume
Is that allowed?
of the Venom trilogy by USA Today best-selling author Shannon Mayer. Humble baker turned supernatural, Alina Berdren is lovely and lethal, and for the first time, she's owning it. Finally rid of her low-life ex-husband, she's free to date sexy vampire mob boss Remo, who respects her as both a soup and
don't.
a woman. That's spelled S-U-P-E, just to clarify.
Okay.
She's on
You can
good
do behind
terms
the
with
back,
her
so of
difficult
course you can do
mother,
this.
and she's growing comfortable with her powers. But just when it seems things are falling into place for Alina, Hera strikes again, and the Agris virus rages across Seattle, threatening the life of everyone in its path, including Remo, infected by Hades. The only way to stop the carnage is to face Hera and her army in a no-prisoners battle to determine the fate of the human race and Alina's future. In a sweeping voyage, from the Seattle bar scene to another world populated by murderous gods and monsters, Alina confronts one adversary after another,
on a quest to set the world right for both humans and soups, and demonstrate her power to the gods and to herself, once and for all.
A small hand touched the top of my shoulder, and I closed my eyes. Ernie, tell me that didn't just happen.
Go on.
Sorry, kid, he said softly. That was not expected.
Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we could swap me and Laser for $250.
We're listening to the story.
I'm going the whole page. Ernie, you want to go bake something? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
He flew around, so he was in front of me as I made my way out to the street. What are we going to bake? I don't know, I said. Anything to take me away from what just happened. There was a small crowd waiting to get into the bar as we passed the front entrance, and a hand reached out as I passed by and touched my elbow. Hey, could I get an autograph? I paused and stared into the face of a woman who was obviously a werewolf. She had
Obviously.
Whoa, what? She had gorgeous sandy-colored curls that cascaded all around her face as though they'd been dried by the wind. She was built lean and wiry, and she barely came up to my chin. Her face was heart-shaped, but it was her eyes that told me all I needed to know. The eyes of a wild animal lurked in the amber depths.
Baking with Ernie donated $20 with no message, but hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You one-shot that page.
Hera's eyes glittered as she stepped toward me.
I will kill you, and they will see you for the monster you are. And don't worry about Hades. He will never rule.
Hades grunted as if she'd slapped him. I kept my eyes on her.
You keep saying that, but it isn't true. All the humans will see is goodness. A goddess. Sorry, I misquote.
It's okay, go on.
It's a goddess who is supposed to protect them turn into the monster. The roles are reversed, but it doesn't have to be that way.
You cannot convince me.
She rushed forward with a thrust that sent her sword through my right shoulder. I cried out and fell back, but spun upward again to face her, resolute in my next words.
If I let you kill me, will you stop this? Will you stop the virus and give Zeus his damn divorce?
The crowd around us gasped and her eyes widened.
Is that what you think this is? A divorce squabble?
That's what Hades said.
I pointed at him, noting that Zeus was now beside him, still wrapped in chains, mind you, but there.
That's what Hades said.
Her shoulders tensed, and Hades tried to step back into the crowd, but Zeus blocked him. Not that Hades could get away from Hera's gaze. Her whole body stiffened, and she took a step toward him before stopping herself and swinging around to me.
Your words are rather good at distracting me, Dracaina. I will have no more of it.
She took a few steps backward as if giving me room. Smithy waved at me, getting my attention. You have to ship. You can't take her like this. Like this? Like what? I was missing something. I had to be. I kept my arms wrapped around my body, and a last desperate thought coursed through me. I lifted a hand to Ernie, and he shot close to me. I whispered to him.
Get as many people infected with the virus here as fast as you can. Take Smithy and the others and get them to help.
His eyes were full of worry. You'll be alone. I nodded.
I know. Go.
He was gone in a flash, and I didn't watch to make sure he did as I asked. I didn't need to. I trusted him.
And scene. In a flash, his body was pressed against mine, making me gasp as he pinned me to the counter, his large hands covering mine and holding me still. I may have let out a squeak, but I'm not entirely sure, because my brain went on strike as my damn heart went into overdrive with sweet, hot adrenaline. His face came within kissing distance, his breath fluttering over my lips. There has been no reason to go through with the divorce, no reason to stir the flames of her wrath. He drew in a breath and let it out slowly, the rush of it tickling across my lips again. Until now. Sugar cookies. This was not good. Even though a part of me wanted it. Like, really, really wanted it. Panic reared his head, and the Draconia in me fell away, leaving only the truth in its place. I blurted it out, desperate to stop this. I love him, and I can't. I can't just jump from him to you. I can't. Smithley closed his eyes. Damn.
Sugar cookies.
He doesn't love her, Ernie said from his perch, helpful as always. Smithy glanced at him, not for 1 second loosening his hold on me. You sure about that, Eros? Are you playing games for your master? Ernie shook his head. Aline is my friend. Aphrodite is my boss. You tell me where my loyalties lie. If Remo loved her, he'd fight for... This is like page 30.
Do you think you could put some clothes on? I'm getting a crick in my neck staring at the ceiling, I said. Zeus strolled by me and I stepped back. Seriously? I thought you didn't like the cold. He shook his head. I don't. Then why do you always run north when things get ugly? I bent and grabbed a pair of pants from the floor and flung them at Zeus. He caught them in midair, then slowly put them on. I wasn't sure if he was being reluctant or still trying to put on a show. The last hop he took to get his butt into them made me think it was more the latter. Typical Zeus.
Typical Zeus.
I run north because, while I don't like the cold, it's an incentive to stay inside and out of view. Of course, I didn't think I'd have to worry about Hermes invoking his messenger license to bring me a visitor. Hermes flew backward, and I immediately put myself between them. I forced his hand, Zeus. He gave me a dismissive wave. I'll deal with him later, seeing as technically he didn't break any rules. Right now, we need to get you to the underworld.
I grabbed him again, and Hermes groaned. I yanked Zeus, so we were nose to nose. You have some of the Pantheon on your side, you fool, and you have me on your side. His eyes flickered with lightning and the air around us charged. And my son? I blinked, wondering who he meant for a split second. Hercules? That would be the one, he drawled. He seems conflicted. I tried to blink away the sudden tears. He helped dig my mother out of the bakery. I'm just reading the words on the page, guys.
Seattle, you know, everyone owns a bakery.
As if that would explain everything, I fought...
That explains literally nothing!
I fought the growing onslaught of tears. The image of my mother suddenly right in front of me, and I was unable to shake it. I tried to turn away from Zeus, but he caught me by the arms. Tell me what happened, Draconia. The story spilled out in spits and starts until the end, when I told him that his son helped me move the cement blocks, that Hercules had apologized for my mother's death. I don't think he wants to help Hera, but he's in charge of the Hydra. Why would he help her after all she's done to him? I wiped at my face and someone handed me a tissue. I blew my nose and used the clean edge of my shirt to wipe away the last of my tears. Zeus sighed. Hercules, he's complicated.
Oh, God. I groaned. Dad. I still have to talk to Dad to tell him. I whimpered, unable to keep the pitiful sound back, and I closed my eyes, suddenly exhausted. Oh, jeez. Voices floated around me and time passed. I knew because the voices kept saying it. Too much time. We're going to lose her. Too much time. I didn't really care. The darkness of unconscious was blissful, and I hid in it, a part of me hoping that I never fully escaped it. I'll never get out, Morty.
This is a reading from chapter 10. There was a lurching jerk, and the room around me was gone as Hermes and I sped through the window above Seattle with a single whoosh of his tiny wings. The cold air didn't bite, but I could feel it course along my skin as Hermes towed me along behind him, like he was trying to get a kite high into the air.
Get out of my room.
Get out of my room, he said as I moved through Grand Poo World 2. Barb didn't bite, but I could feel it course along my skin, like he was trying to get a kite high into the air. You're going to get me in trouble, Patty. We can just say I threatened you, that you were afraid I would hurt you. I couldn't help staring down as we skimmed along above the city, and then above the wall with a capital W, which is apparently a place. For a moment, I thought maybe I could see Tad at House 13. And then we were gone from that section so fast, I was probably seeing things. Hermes, I squeezed his hand. I need you to take me somewhere else before we go to Zeus. What, did you forget a change of underwear?
He grunted, and I thought it was a laugh. I turned my head, took my eyes off the eyes that followed us from the shoreline, and watched in horror as Remo disappeared under the water, sucked down like Luke Skywalker when the trash compactor monster grabbed him. That's in the book.
Oh my God.
Remo! I screamed his name, and all around us a cry went up like a cacophony of shrieking toddlers that couldn't be consoled. What an excellent simile there. The sound reverberated against my skin and ears, sending shivers through me over and over. Maybe I still had some of the Dracana in me after all. As I spun around and around in a vain attempt to find him, I drew a deep breath and then dove under the murky depths. I forced my eyes open and blinked against the grit that filled the scummy liquid. The view was anything but clear, but I could make out a twisting shape, not unlike my own coils, and within it, Remo.
He back!
I swam forward and tried to shift, knowing that I could take another serpent in my Dracana form.
I looked back into the closet and found a leather jacket near the back, like it had been stuffed there and forgotten. I ran my hands over it, thinking. There were tears and cuts that had been stitched together over and over, as though it had been tears and cuts that had been stitched together over and over, as though it had been through its share of monsters and battles. I pulled it off the rack. Maybe wearing it would be good luck, seeing as it had obviously survived a lot. The tag at the back had 2 initials stitched into it, R.A. I ran a thumb over the initials and felt a surge of confidence. Yes, this was the jacket I needed to wear. Whoever had had it before me, somehow I knew she had been a badass of epic proportions.
Merlin bent me over.
This is a reading from chapter 13 of the good book of Hisses and Honey for a bedtime story. Going to the underworld was no small task. I panned through until I found a pair of black jeans, knee-high black boots, and a black tank top. I took them and glanced at Reno. Remo, if you don't mind. He grinned and waved a hand at me. Not at all. You go right ahead. Excuse me, I'm reading, please. I'll keep an eye on you. I blushed and pointed at the door. Get out. He backed out, standing in the hallway, still looking in. Done. The door remained open. The door remained open between us. And he grinned across the open space to me. I strode across the distance, grabbed the door, and slammed it in his face. Ernie snickered. You have it so bad for him. You know he's seen you naked a number of times with your shifting.
When you're shifting?
Shut up, Ernie. He can hear you, I said. That I can, beautiful, and I will amend that I have it rather bad for you, too, Remo said from the hallway. I shucked my clothes, blushing furiously, doing my best not to think about just how bad he had it for me. I hurriedly pulled on the black attire. It suited my mood and clung to my body without reserve.
Can I just say that Hisses and Honey improves gameplay by 50%?
I feel like we have to see how much it would be to get the author out here next year.
I don't know. She's a USA Today bestseller.
Like, I'd imagine we're going to get a slightly bigger budget next year. We've done pretty well. And I can't help but think, like, we have everything we need. Why don't we just take all that budget and just kind of, like,
put it towards getting Shannon Mayer out here?
Yep, and just, like, have her sit here the whole time.
And every time we
awkwardly.
talk to her, we say, hello, Shannon Mayer, USA Today bestseller author.
Yes. She has a website.
I don't know if... She's a Mario Maker streamer, so we should go ahead and check her out.
Wait, this is actually signed by Shannon Mayer? Holy shit! Oh my god!
Not only is it signed by Shannon Mayer, USA Today best-selling author, but it's signed by Shannon Mayer, USA Today best-selling author in Crayola marker.
It is Crayola.
Green Crayola marker.
Oh my god, are we at Shannon Mayer's house?
Oh my god!
I mean, what if that's the reason the book's in here, is because it's her...
So, this is from the story The Patron Saint of Pigs by Lauren Miracle. But it wasn't Jeb, she repeated. Isn't that good? I didn't answer. I didn't want Jeb kissing strange girls in Virginia. But if the 8-year-old kissing patrol had somehow possessed news of Jeb, well, I would be very much appreciated if I heard it. Just say the guy they saw didn't have curly hair, and instead of kissing some girl, he was, like, locked in a porta potty or something. If the kissing patrol had told Tegan that, then yes, it would have been good news, because it would have meant Jeb had an excuse for not meeting me. Not that I wanted Jeb to be locked in a porta potty, obviously.
Jeb's going through a hard time, it sounds like.